C.S. Lewis noticed a fatal mistake in many current notions about God. He said, "A good many people nowadays say, 'I believe in a God, but not in a personal God.' They feel that the mysterious something which is behind all other things must be more than a person." Now, the Christians quite agree. But the Christians are the only people who offer any idea of what a being that is beyond personality could be like. All the other people, though they say that God is beyond personality, really think of him as something impersonal. That is, as something less than personal. If you are looking for something super personal, something more than a person, then it is not a question of choosing between the Christian idea and the other ideas. The Christian idea is the only one on the market. Now, Lewis was quite right. A little geometry lesson may help us understand how we can relate to the God who is three in one. Again, listen to C.S. Lewis. You know that in space you can move in three ways, to the left or right, backwards or forwards, up or down. Every direction is either one of these three or a compromise between them. They are called the three dimensions. Now notice this. If you are using only one dimension, you could draw only a straight line. If you're using two, you could draw a figure, say a square. A square is made up of four straight lines. Now a step further. If you have three dimensions, you can then build a cube. Do you see the point? A world of one dimension would be a straight line. In a two-dimensional world, you still get straight lines, but many lines make one figure. In a three-dimensional world, you still get figures, but many figures make one solid body. In other words, as you advance to more real and more complicated levels, you do not leave behind the things you found on the simpler levels. You still have them, but combined in new ways. In ways you could not imagine if you knew only the simpler levels. Now, the Christian account of God involves just the same principle. We can use the square to represent mankind and the cube to represent God. The line represents attributes of personhood. Persons have a will, reason, emotions, etc. The human level is a simple and rather empty level. We as personal beings possess the attributes of personhood. Put them together and you have a person. On the human level, one person is one being, and any two persons are two separate beings. Just as, in two dimensions, say on a flat sheet of paper, one square is one figure, and any two squares are two separate figures. On God's level, you still find persons with all the attributes of personhood, but up there, you find them combined in new ways which we, who do not live on that level, cannot imagine. In God, you find a being who is three persons while remaining one being, just as a cube is six squares while remaining one cube. Of course, we cannot fully conceive of a being like that. After all, we are like the 2D square. We can't relate to a 3D cube. But we can get a sort of a faint notion of it. And it can give us some idea, however faint, of something super personal, something more than a person. It's something we could never have guessed, and yet, once we've been told, one almost feels one ought to have been able to guess it, because it fits in so well with all the things we know already. Now, let's expand on Lewis's idea and see what happens when we consider how the second person of the Trinity has been revealed to us in time and space in the person of Jesus. Here is a 2D square representing our world. Stretch our 2D square into a semi-transparent 2D plane, like a sheet of paper. Remember, the cube represents the Trinity in our geometry illustration. How would the Trinity, a being on a different level from us 2D beings, interact with us in a way that we might know him? He would come to us at our level, of course. Let this cube, 3D in our illustration, represent the Trinity stepping into our time and space, 2D in the illustration. What form would the 3D cube take on the 2D plane? A square, right. So by stepping into the 2D world, the 3D cube takes on the form of a square, In stepping into our world, God becomes a man. We still can't comprehend all of God. The 2D plane could never see the 3D cube in its fullness. It's at a different nature of existence altogether. But we can clearly see Jesus because he has come as one of us. In the Bible, the book of Colossians chapter 2 verse 9 says, "For in him all the fullness of God's nature dwells in a human body." Understand, it is still 100% a cube in 3 dimensions and 100% square in 2 dimensions. This is only possible because the square is the image of a cube in 2D, just like man is made in the image of God. Now, Jesus, being 100% God and 100% man at the same time, is the result of the fullness of God stepping into our space and time and becoming a man. Thus, Jesus' being God come as a man makes more sense. His humanity and his divinity come together without any confusion. God, the Trinity that was just hinted at in the Old Testament, personally stepped into our space and time and revealed to us his fullness in the God-man, Christ Jesus, whom we read about in the Gospels of our New Testament. C.S. Lewis continued, "And that is how theology started. People already knew about God in a vague way. Then came a man who claimed to be God, and yet he was not the sort of man you could dismiss as a lunatic. He made them believe in him. They met him again after they had seen him killed, and then, after they had been formed into a little society or community, they found God somehow inside them as well, directing them, making them able to do things they could not do before. And when they worked it all out, they found they had arrived at the Christian definition of the three-personal God. This definition is not something we've made up. Theology is, in a sense, an experimental science. It is simple religions that are the made-up ones. When I say it is an experimental science, in a sense, I mean that it is like the other experimental sciences in some ways, but not at all. If you are a geologist studying rocks, you have to go and find the rocks. They will not come to you, and if you go to them, they cannot run away. The initiative lies all on your side. They cannot either help or hinder. But suppose you are a zoologist and want to take photos of wild animals in their native haunts. That is a bit different from studying rocks. The wild animals will not come to you, but they can run away from you. Unless you keep very quiet, they will. There is beginning to be a tiny little trace of initiative on their side. Now a stage higher. Suppose you want to get to know a human person. If he is determined not to let you, you will not get to know him. You have to win his confidence. In this case, the initiative is equally divided. It takes 2 to make a friendship. Again, Lewis has given us a clear picture of the Trinity and how we might know God. So ask yourself, is God seeking you today? Is he making himself known to you? Do you sense the notion that he wants you to know him? Are you willing to answer his call?